After years of budget cuts and declines in staffing, the Oklahoma Department of Human Services was forced to take steps to improve its foster care system. Settlement of a class action lawsuit resulted in the Pinnacle Plan, which has seen DHS make progress towards foster program goals, but problems remain. During a recent Oklahoma Watch forum, DHS Director Ed Lake and Jamie Ledoux, Director of Child Welfare Services at DHS, talked about what's been accomplished and what remains to be done. Here's more of that forum in this O&R Extra.
What are the underlying reasons that Oklahoma has so many kids in state custody, historically and now? I mean, what's causing all of this? What do you think is, what are the, it's a complicated question, but what are your thoughts on that?
One reason is always linked to poverty. It's not child abuse and neglect, of course, it's not totally connected to poverty, but to a large degree it is. I think you put in substance abuse, alcohol and drug abuse is another reason, domestic violence. There are child characteristics that can contribute, parents that aren't capable of caring for children with intellectual disabilities or behavioral problems or serious medical needs that contribute to abuse and neglect. And one of my favorites beyond parental capabilities is that what you see is with blended families or boyfriends in the home, mom trying to work, boyfriend being pressed into service as a caregiver, is a recipe for abuse and neglect as well.
A good portion of the families that come to our attention for the purposes of neglect. And so we, when those families come to our attention, we're really looking at the factors behind that neglect that are leading to that neglect, and many of those are what he just stated here, such as substance abuse, generational poverty, behavioral health issues, things like that. And I think we're in a position as a state where a lot of the safety nets that we have had or in the past for families aren't necessarily there anymore. And so I think that adds, it's an added challenge.
It's a lot easier to have foster family homes for children when you don't have so many children. And so as a result, we have been very successful in moving children into family settings, whether that's what we call a kinship or a relative or known person kinship home or a regular foster home. Something around 93%, I think, of our children are going into a foster home, not into a shelter or a group setting, which is good for children.
What works best in convincing families or single people to turn their homes into foster homes?
Mm-hmm. I have to say that one of the things that's most impactful actually is word of mouth. So when there are other foster families who have stepped up and opened their homes to children, and when they can share their stories about the positive impact that it's had on the lives of their family members, I think that's the biggest kind of recruiting tool that we have available to us, to be able to share those stories.
The Department of Human Services is seeking a $48 million increase in its appropriation next fiscal year, with much of that going to provide rate increases for adoption and foster care.